Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me? Perfect. Thank you so much for the beautiful music in the background. If you noticed, we had this wonderful piano playing in the background. And good afternoon. My name is Rebecca Paz, and I am the director of the Pilots Program, a first-year academic success program at K-State. I would like to welcome our distinguished guests, Dr. Basco, Dr. Gordon, Dr. Griffin, deans, students, faculty, and staff, to the Commerce Bank Presidential Awards for Excellence in Multiculturalism and Diversity reception. I would like to introduce to you the day's guests, Mr. Tom Giller, President of the Commerce Bank, Ms. Pat Hudgens, Associate Director for Career and Employment Services and Committee Member of the Commerce Bank Award. And last but not least, Dr. Zia Wiley, Assistant Dean for Diversity Programs at the College of Agriculture. As you know, this afternoon's celebration is part of the Martin Luther King Jr. Observance Week. And it could not be better timing to recognize those individuals who worked diligently toward the ideals that Dr. King stood for. Let us also acknowledge past recipients of the Commerce Bank Award, many of them present in this room today, and the students, the faculty, and staff across the campus who work earnestly on a daily basis to create a climate of fairness and inclusion in our campus. We are at a historical moment in our nation. We live in a time when we see so many disparities in our society. We see violence and hate played out in front of our own eyes through the media, way too often. Whether it is immigration, gay rights, or police brutality, we are in turmoil, and we must continue to work to overcome inequality and achieve social justice. This week's theme is Growing a Soul for Social Justice. Both individuals we're honoring today demonstrated having a soul for social justice through their dedication to education and their contributions for diversity enhancement. These recipients uphold K-State's principle of community, which states, quote, "Let's affirm the inherent dignity and value of every person and strive to maintain an atmosphere of justice based on respect for each other," unquote. This K-State principle of community is reflected in the Commerce Bank Presidential Awards, which are some of the university's most prestigious awards, given to a remarkable faculty or staff and one student every year. The Commerce Bank Presidential Award for Distinguished Services to Historically Underrepresented Students was established in the spring semester of 1978 to recognize outstanding individual contributions to the development of quality education and of multicultural students at Kansas State University. In the spring of 1997, the Commerce Bank Presidential Student Award for Distinguished Services in Enhancing Diversity and Multiculturalism was added to recognize outstanding individual contributions to the promotion of multiculturalism and diversity by students. I would like to express our gratitude to Tom Giller and Commerce Bank for this long-term investment and commitment to promote multiculturalism and diversity in our campus. These awards started 37 years ago. That's a long time. But we must be grateful and thankful for this commitment and for the generosity of the Commerce Bank. Let's use the awardees' example to continue to move forward on our goal to grow a soul for social justice that starts here in our campus, spreads to our communities, and expands to our nation and the world. It is my pleasure to introduce to you Mr. Tom Giller, president of the Commerce Bank and longtime supporter of our efforts to enhance multiculturalism and diversity at our beloved university. Please welcome Tom.
I'm a little nervous that I'm showing my age. I've got a piece of paper with notes, and I see Brian's over here with his iPad with his speech. So, Commerce Bank really appreciates the partnership with Kansas State University and the Office of Diversity as we celebrate 20 years of supporting the Commerce Bank Presidential Diversity Awards. We are planning on continuing to march forward with our support well into the future. Speaking of marches, this year marks the 50th anniversary of the Selma to Montgomery marches. With the first march, there were 600 walkers with the purpose of registration and voting rights for all. Unfortunately, they were beaten, kicked, and clubbed. The pictures are horrific and sad to look at. But there's a bright light in those actually 3 marches. And that's that their goal happened. And the goal was that the Voting Rights Act was passed. Today, we congratulate our 2 award winners because they walk the walk. They march the march each day to improve diversity. We are very proud of both of you and your accomplishments. Keep walking and marching. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm not quite as tall as Tom. Oh. Oh, to see the Selma.
I believe we have, Dr. Gordon, do we have something on the slide presentation? Yes, we want to watch that first.
Okay. we're going to keep trying to get that very, very powerful moment. And the power that we see from 1965, we've moved forward in a lot of power still today. I get the distinct opportunity to introduce a student. We've got many, many outstanding student scholars on our campus, and it makes it very difficult when you just have to pick from a couple to acknowledge. I would like to just acknowledge that one of our finalists is a junior in public relations with a minor in business. And he came forward with his application process, very distinguished, did a great presentation to the committee. And we just wanted to acknowledge him as a finalist today, Leandre Carthen. And we'd just like to say thank you to him. I know you're looking around the room. I wanted to make sure that he was acknowledged. I did see him dashing to class as I was dashing over here through the garage. And so we would like for them to do that. So I wanted to make sure that that name resonates in your head. Thank you. Dr. Wiley? Do we want to try it again? Okay, we're going to keep trying because I think it would be something worth seeing if we can. Mm-hmm.
Well, good afternoon. And I'm probably showing my age as well. Even though I have a smartphone and an iPad, I have my notes on purple paper. Because I just have to do what's going to make me comfortable up here as I present to you and introduce to some Justine Floyd. Justine is truly a student that has allowed me to work harder and do my best as I work with all students. She is just that unique where she allows you to strive harder and to do your best while she does her best. I've known her since 2011. I met her at a leadership luncheon with her parents, Reverend and Mrs. Floyd, and it was truly an honor to meet them at the time because that's when I truly met Justine for real, as the real Justine, because I encouraged her to be in a program called MAPS, and she politely looked at me and said no. And when she did that, I said, wow, this is going to be an interesting relationship. So we were very blessed that something happened in her busy schedule that she was able to attend MAPS. And it was just the best experience, and we've been connected ever since. I've been fortunate to receive this award myself, and I can say that in working with students, and when you get this award, it really does allow you to see that, you know, you can make a difference. And this year was even more unique in preparing the package because Brian and myself were both nominating her, and we didn't know it. And I think we might have confused Dr. Andy Barkley because we both asked for a letter from him, and he prepared the greatest letter, and it just fit both of our packages, but we only submitted one. So that just shows you how unique she is. I would like to say on behalf of the College of Agriculture, Dean Flores, as well as the Department of Ag Econ, who's back there in the back, her department head, Dr. Alan Featherstone, and the team is there because we want to show that we appreciate you for allowing us to be part of the village for Justine. You know, we know Justine's your production, and right now it's all about Justine. And for those of you that know her, that was the best thing for me to say. It's all about my child right now. I would like to say also, we have our K-State Manners chapter here to support her, our Junior Manners chapter here from Topeka to be here for her. And, you know, we all wanted to let her know that we appreciate her. And now the university is showing that. So again, I want to recognize our college and their administration because it is the village. All of you have been a part of this success, and I just appreciate her parents for trusting me. Now, I cannot step down, Justine, without giving one story. I know you're a little frightened, but I would like to say, last year, we went to the National Minorities in Ag Conference, and I was so excited for Justine to go, you know, because she wants a job or she wants to go to grad school. And so now we've made it. We know we're going to do the job. Well, my child got sick. And she texted me at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I said, well, I just can't believe she's really this sick. Well, she comes down to the lobby, and I mean, she looks sick. Well, it took us from 2 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock in the morning that we could get back. And I'm saying that not to like brag on myself for staying up with her. I'm saying that because Manners stepped up, that one of my former students went and got his car, and because we had to wait 2 hours for a taxi in Birmingham, and got us to the hospital. And then her mother trusted me enough that she was able to relax. And that said a lot, that you trust me that much. And the story behind that is that that's how Justine makes you just work harder. Because, you know, she's not playing wolf on you. She's really like, I'm sick. But then she'll step up to the plate. She'll pass her classes. She'll do the presentation for you. And she'll make you so proud of her. And at the same time, make you proud of yourself because you're part of her team. So I'm so proud of you, Justine. I really am. And we're going to put this in the books because, you know, the reality starts after this program, that I'm not going to do all this padding because I want you to graduate. So this is what we're trying to show. This is a special year. It's 50 years with Selma, 50 years of the voting right. This is a special year. This is something that all of us can embrace. But I'm so proud of my college and K-State Research and Extension. I see Dr. Boggs back there and the department, because, Justine, we are all here for you. So you have your Manners chapter, your junior Manners chapter, your department, and your college here. So now will you join me as I present this award to you? So, and if you could all join me in congratulating Justine as being the recipient. Put it right here. Congratulations.
Thank you. Okay, well, before I was preparing this speech, I was like, okay, you're not going to cry, but clearly that was a lie. Good afternoon, everyone. As you all know, my name is Justine Floyd, and I'm very overwhelmed to have the privilege of standing before you today. And they said it shows their age that they have notes, but I have some too, so I don't know what that says about my young age. Over the past 4 years, I have met some amazing students, faculty, and staff on this campus. People that have made an impression on me, and I hope that I was able to do the same. The process of receiving this award has been fun and a challenging experience, and I'm proud to say that in May, I will be the third African American to receive a Bachelor of Science in Agribusiness from the Department of Agricultural Economics. I would also like to thank Commerce Bank for supporting Kansas State University and our diversity initiatives. My dad always says that people don't have to be nice, and when they choose to be nice, they don't have to be nice to you. With that being said, I must express my gratitude to those who have played a major role in helping me throughout my collegiate career. So who better to start off with than my parents? Pastor Terrence and Jacqueline Floyd. I'm not sure if I can even put into words the gratitude that I have for the upbringing they have provided me. Whenever I did something and had trouble coming my way, the first thing my dad would say is, "What's your name?" I'd be like, "Justine." "Justine what?" "Justine Floyd." He always told me that whether I was doing good or bad, I was representing him and the rest of my family, and that in layman's terms, don't be out there acting a fool. As angry as it made me as a child, I'm so glad for those experiences now. I'm grateful to have witnessed his perseverance with his professional endeavors with Ford Construction Corporation and Silver Lake Arabians. And I also his spiritual endeavors with Mount Gilead Baptist Church, my home church. It's also been a blessing to watch my mother stand by his side through it all. Now, don't get me wrong, she does a lot. From cooking me breakfast every morning to being at my school so much that my friends thought she worked there. I've had the privilege to have, as my brother would say, the meanest mommy in the world. She loved me enough to always tell me when I was wrong and to help me get back on the right track. All right, I know I talked about my parents for a while, but I mean, come on, they did kind of raise me. Brian Williams. Where do I begin? Brian is the main reason I came to K-State and why I have stayed. I remember him coming to my high school in Wichita and telling me about all that K-State had to offer. I was hooked from then on. As a graduating senior looking back, I can say that Brian has been one of my biggest supporters. I remember before I gave the presentation for this award, I was in his office hyperventilating and he just smiled and said, "Justine, you're a boss, man." He's so positive, encouraging, and has a passion for helping students achieve success. Thank you. Dr. Zia Wiley, and she told you this story. I met Dr. Wiley at a scholarship banquet, and she was telling my mother and I about MAPS. As I'm sure you all know, that's Multicultural Academic Program Success. 6 weeks of class, networking, and development. And of course, as a high school student, I was not interested. But as usual, the meanest mommy in the world told me I was going. From the time I was a MAPS participant until now, Dr. Z has always had my back. She has also always challenged me. Last week, I went to her office just for lunch and I left with a new freshman mentee. As frustrating as the challenges may be, it has helped me to develop, and I thank Dr. Wiley for all of the lessons that she has taught me. And I also thank her for letting me cry in her office every now and again. Dr. Andrew Barkley. Dr. Barkley has been my advisor ever since I switched my major to agribusiness. His office door is always open, and he is the reason that I have been able to catch up in my curriculum and graduate in 4 years as planned. Besides that, he's always willing to write a letter of recommendation, let me vent in his office, or shoot me a random email that says, "Keep going, Justine." It's little things like that that brighten my day and make me grateful that I have such a wonderful advisor in the Department of Agricultural Economics. Thank you. Brandon Clark. I have gotten to know Clark a lot better this year as I served as the head delegate for the Black Student Union. What I admire most about Clark is the way he carries himself. He always seems to think before speaking, something I'm still learning how to do. I always know that Clark will give an honest opinion, and it is under his advisory that we have been able to continue to win most outstanding BSU in the Big 12. One thing I know I'll miss upon my graduation is walking into his office and hearing him say, "Hey, lady." Dr. Gordon. Without consideration from Dr. Gordon in the Office of Diversity, I would not have the privilege to stand before you all today. Dr. G has been a most vital part in my collegiate career and in making me more conscious. Is it possible that I could get some tissue? I'm struggling over here. Sorry, that's that uniqueness Dr. Wiley was talking about. She accepts nothing less than excellence, and her efforts in progressing the multicultural community at K-State will never go unnoticed. And on behalf of the Black Student Union, Manners, and other MSOs, I'd like to publicly thank you for your continuous support of our events, and most importantly, our members. One thing I know for certain is that none of these accomplishments I've made over the course of my short life have been done on my own. I thank each and every one of you, and I also thank everyone that is in attendance today. Now, what I really came to talk about, diversity and multiculturalism. Being a student leader at Kansas State has taught me to understand and value the difference between diversity and multiculturalism. More importantly, it has taught me that when you pair the two, there lies great potential for success. Multiculturalism is the preservation of different cultures or cultural identities within a unified society as a state or nation, while diversity is defined as a point of difference. My multiculturalism is the fact that I'm African American. It's the fact that every Tuesday at 7 p.m. in room 227 of the Student Union, I attend BSU meetings that tell me the odds are against me, but that they can be defied. It's participating in annual Black History Month events that host people like Nikki Giovanni and Harry Belafonte, and this year Jeffrey Canada, which, by the way, that's next Monday at 7 in the ballroom. Multiculturalism is learning about, understanding, and embracing your history. Furthermore, it's taking that knowledge and embodying Sankofa by reaching back for your brothers and sisters who might have somehow gotten lost along their journey. Multiculturalism is knowing that I'm a member of the talented 10th and that it's my duty to lead and serve my community to the best of my ability. To complement this, my diversity includes my love for dogs, my extrovert personality, my strengths and weaknesses, my interest in agriculture, and even my religious beliefs, which lead me to say that without God, none of this would be possible, and all glory belongs to Him for bringing me this far in my life. I believe that multiculturalism and diversity are a dynamic duo that have been and will continue to be the framework by which students on this campus will find themselves. It's here that we can make friends, find mentors, follow in their footsteps, and even create some of our own. We begin our freshman year as young, anxious students that are not sure of what their future holds, and we approach graduation developed and educated, but still not sure what the future holds. The difference is that now we're up for the challenge. That challenge is that in current times of national race issues, sex discrimination, socioeconomic problems, and so much more, how can we help? Will we watch as our fellow man is mistreated because of the color of their skin or their sexual orientation? Or will we apply what we've learned and peacefully protest, become policymakers, and contribute to society in all ways that we can? I've learned that it is my personal and civic responsibility to become all of these things and more. It is because of K-State that I now take ownership in this calling. Thank you, Kansas State University, for this revelation, because like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, our lives end the day we become silent about things that matter. Thank you.
Wow, that was very inspiring, Justine. Next, instead of the musical selection, we will try to show the video again. So if we have it ready, we're gonna watch it.
I was standing up there and the people started running. The black people were beaten, the dogs were hit, and I just turned around to see the folk and wondered why they were beating them so. And I couldn't understand.
I just don't see how anybody can say that a man can fight in Vietnam, but he can't vote in the post office.
before the forces of power in the state of Alabama saying we ain't gonna let nobody turn us around.
Is it over? It's over. Okay, thank you. Next, I would like to invite Ms. Pat Hudgens to present the Faculty Staff Award finalist. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. If you note in your program, there is a long distinguished list of difference makers. And I just wanted to share just real briefly about one of our finalists who is indeed a difference maker. If everybody in the room was in the program, it wouldn't make a difference the way difference makers do. Our faculty finalists for this distinguished honor is Sujatha Prakash, and she is in the College of Engineering, and she is a STEM retention coordinator, and we are very, very, very proud of the information that was submitted on her behalf as well, and it was tough to make that decision, and as a finalist, we just want you to give her a hand. Thank you. Now I would like to introduce, your program says Ms. Justice Davis, but she really went to class as well, and we're very proud of her. She's a marketing engineer, junior in marketing. And in her absence, I'd like to call to the podium Mr. Alan Lewis. He is a junior in accounting who will make the next presentation.
Thank you. And also, I would like to ask Ms. Trisha Gott to come to the dais, please. Trisha, are you here? Yes.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Once again, my name is Alan Lewis. I am actually the Educational Programs Director for the Black Student Union here at K-State. Unfortunately, our President, Justice Davis, wasn't able to attend, but she left me with a couple of remarks to honor Brian here, who's a really valued member of the Black Student Union, a great advisor. So, good afternoon. It is an honor to be introducing such an incredible, impactful, and zealous human being. Not many people are willing to selfishly support and uplift so many students. Brian Williams is a phenomenal educator who definitely is the reason why so many minority students are welcomed into the K-State Wildcat family, and not only graduate with a degree, but a feeling of empowerment. The Black Student Union recognizes that he takes his work home with him daily, carrying the weight of the students as they endeavor to better themselves. We recognize his diligence to recruit more students of color. And most importantly, we recognize his efforts in making sure students like us graduate. Brian knows the importance of engaging the students of color and encouraging them to never give up. Even in times when the road gets a little tougher to walk on and heaven doesn't seem so close, when I nominated Brian, I described him as a capeless hero who is dedicated to the movement that is progressive. A movement where positive change sees the most success. A movement that uplifts all and serves all without question. Arthur Ashe once stated, "True heroism is remarkably sober, very undramatic, and it is not an urge to surpass all others at whatever cost. But, I lost my word. The urge to serve others at whatever cost. I know that when we have maxed out all our strength and all our energy, we can depend on Brian to be there and inspire me and encourage me to keep going. I know many others feel the same way, and his passion and dedication to bettering the lives of his students is admirable. And just having the opportunity to work with Brian, whether that's through admissions or just working closely with him through the Black Student Union, he's clearly so influential to our student body. So without further ado, I am privileged to welcome the recipient of this year's Commerce Bank Presidential Award for distinguished services to historically underrepresented students, my advisor, my mentor, and friend, Mr. Brian Williams. Yes, sir. Gotta take the picture. Oh, we gotta take pictures, huh? Over here? All right. As always, gotta push this mic down every time I come on one of these podiums. My goodness, I'm at a loss of words. I see Dr. Bennett in the audience still, and she'll appreciate this. My favorite blues player is a guy by the name of Mr. Buddy Guy, and every time that he'd have a really good show and he'd get a loud pop from the audience, he'll say, "You know, you make me feel good, don't you?" I want to thank Alan for his words, as well as presenting the words on Justice's behalf. She had an interview last week during class for an internship in Minnesota, which she received. So very proud for. They actually hired her on the spot. Like, she interviewed, they waited like 5 minutes and then called her and told her she had the job. So, which, if anybody knows Justice, that's very Justice-like. So she had to pick on which one she was going to go to miss class, and I supported that decision because, you know, you got to pay those bills. So, to be honest with you, this is really overwhelming. I've been thinking about what I was going to say for a while, just thinking about it, and I really didn't start putting any text to my thoughts until really this morning. Just because I wanted to find the right words. This is a very important award to me. I consider this almost the Spingarn of K-State, almost a Lifetime Achievement Award. I mean, if you look at the program, the people who've won this, Dr. Griffin's in the audience, and the McGowans, to Doug Benson, to, you know, so many others. And some of the names on here, a lot of the names on here, my students might not recognize, but, you know, these were my heroes when I was an undergraduate. So this is very humbling. I'm deeply moved to be counted amongst all those giants. Before I get started, I do want to recognize my table, and I'm going to make everybody stand up because I just have to. These are the most important people, no offense, but in the room to me right now. So I want to start off with Mr. JaVale Roan, my cousin and my best friend, who was able to make it to today. He's also the director of the Media Development Center, so thank him for jumping in and helping us out. That's his profession. So one of my biggest supporters my whole life, and somebody who's treated me like their own son, is Mrs. Anita Bettis, and I thank her for driving all the way from Kansas City to see us. My aunt, Pamela Johnson, who has always been, she's been consistently supportive of everything I've done, from, you know, playing the oboe to, you know, drive me to practices and all these things for, you know, I guess I'm getting ready to turn 30, so over 29 years. So thank you, Pam, for all of your support. The heart of my family is my grandmother, Vertus Johnson, and I definitely need to make sure that she's recognized today. Last but not least, my mother, Jacqueline Williams.
in all sincerity and honesty, everything that you see about me, all of my best qualities, all my best traits, they come directly from her. So I love her, and I thank her for raising me on her own and making me the man that I am today. Okay, I want to give some thanks to some people in the K-State community. First, starting off with Commerce Bank. Thank you so much for supporting diversity for so long. I was talking to Tom right before the program started, and I believe this is the case. Maybe Rich and Carrie can do some research as well, but I believe I'm the first Commerce Bank recipient that actually worked at Commerce Bank at one point in time. So I'm not saying I had like an inside job thing happen, but you know. Since I began my professional career at K-State, I have been able to enjoy certain freedoms and trust from my supervisors. Many might not know, but admissions is a very high-stake and strategic business, especially here at K-State, because we are the gateway to all K-Staters. You have to come through us to become a Wildcat, so that's a lot of responsibility. Knowing this, my supervisors, since I've been here, they've believed in my ideas. They allowed me to use my passion to develop professionally, and in doing so, allowed me to impact the lives of many students on this campus. So I do want to specifically thank Molly McGoy and Dr. Emily Lenning for all the support that they've given me through the 5 years that I've been working at K-State. I also need to thank all my colleagues within admissions and new student services for their understanding and support. Dina Core, Bill Disberger, Kylie Moody, the admissions representative team, and a slew of other students and staff that really make that machine work. It takes a dynamic team to get through tens of thousands of applications and serve each student as an individual special person every year. So I do want to thank those individuals as well. I want to thank my fraternity, my brotherhood. I'm a proud member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, and that's really where I started to learn my leadership and the development as a man. Specifically, I want to thank Mr. Brandon Clark and Mr. Kedrick Elmore. I don't think I've ever said this in front of them, but I call them the advisor's advisor because you know, students come to me with questions and concerns, but normally I'm just going to them. So it's like I'm a middleman of some sort. So thank you for helping to mentor me over the years. Larry Mader and Pat Bosco. These gentlemen are very important to me because they have allowed me to be in the room, not only in the room, but active participants in some very important and key decisions that affect diversity and multiculturalism on this campus. And they didn't have to do that. You know, I don't really have the title or the experience, but I do have the heart. And they recognized that, and they allowed me to be a part of those conversations. So I truly do thank you. Okay, I'm gonna get through this, I promise. This is a tough one, but I'm gonna, you know, hit my chest a little bit. Dr. Gordon, I have to recognize Dr. Gordon. She's been my #1 supporter from day one here at K-State. She's a person whose encouragement, empowerment, and faith has pushed me to continue to pursue my dreams here on this campus. She's a doctor, she's a provost, and she's even a chief of a Nigerian village. So, Dr. Gordon, I thank you for all that you do. I don't even know where you are right now. There she is. So, thank you, Dr. Gordon, for everything that you've done for me over the years. Finally, I want to thank my students. I've been involved with the Black Student Union in some form or fashion since my freshman year, and that was, believe it or not, over a decade ago. And I've done that with the utmost pride. When we talk about this K-State family, the sense of place, that thing that brands K-State, that makes us unique, that means that K-State family actually means different things to different people. The same theme, just different arenas. And I've always thought when speaking in front of students about the K-State family or faculty, alumni, or the sort, Black Student Union is the first thing that comes to my mind. Even today, no matter where I go to speak, in my formal introduction, at the end of that introduction, I also say that I am also the proud advisor of the Black Student Union at Kansas State University. My senior year of college, I went through this sort of transition in my life where I really started to truly embrace my blackness, my African heritage. I'd been doing that a little bit, but I really started to really understand what makes us unique as a people. I didn't know that I was going through a transition of nigrescence. I think that's what we call it here in student development, but it was happening. I was really starting to grab hold of some of the philosophies and principles coming right out of the heart of Africa, both past and modern. I think about all of the symbols and principles of Kwanzaa. I started to really internalize those things. The spirit of Sankofa that Justine talked about earlier today during her speech. But my favorite philosophy that came out of Africa was introduced to me by Dr. Gordon is this philosophy that's called Ubuntu. Ubuntu is a concept that expresses a collective and intertwined humanity. A concept where I can't exist without you, and you cannot exist without me. I am because we are. What makes us human beings are the other human beings that share our space. The poet John Donne referred to it when he said, "No man is an island entire to oneself." And since this is MLK week, I'll also throw in that Dr. King said our destiny is tied up in their destiny, and I cannot become who I ought to be until you become who you ought to be. I really enjoy this philosophy because it's true. You see this in nature, you see this in science. Sociology and psychology shows us that, as we developed as children, a baby doesn't just start walking and talking on its own. That's done through mimicry. That's done through the humans, the parents, the brothers, the sisters that are around them. That's what defines that humanity. So in the end, I need you and you need me. And as a side note, that's why racism and discrimination and all these things that's going on in this world still make absolutely no sense to me, because it's such a self-defeating practice. Because when you're victimizing one person in the process, you're stripping away your own humanity. I try to put this philosophy to practice every day when I'm working with my students. Whether it's our President Justice, I've actually talked to her 4 times already today, and I'll probably talk to her twice again. A lot of interaction with our president, to even our freshmen that come through the door, and every student in between. I explicitly tell them and implicitly show them that I need you to be you to your fullest in order for me to achieve my full potential. We are in this thing together. Okay, I say all that, and you're probably asking about, at this point, what's the point of all this African philosophy mumbo jumbo? Where are you going with this? Well, I had to share that, a little bit of exposition for you to really kind of set up my true point here. And it's a laughable point, but I think it rings true to what K-State is striving to be. For a few years now, about 3 years now, for some reason, I've gotten a little bit of a name for myself here in the state, in the region. Some folks are even starting to call me an expert in the field of diversity relations and multicultural relations. That's where you're supposed to laugh, because that's still funny to me. Anyway, I'm asked to speak at these different conferences and advising centers. I actually just got an email saying that requesting me to go to Kansas City, Kansas Community College on the 19th to speak. And it's always the same questions when I get in that room, whether it be faculty or student. What makes your work so special? What makes it important? What drives you, and what drives your students to be so successful? So these questions come at me. And it's weird because I really don't have an answer for them. I've gotten better at phrasing my response, but I don't have any really rhyme or reason other than this practice of Ubuntu. I will begin to explain how important this is to my work, how this pushes me to work hard for individuals and do whatever is necessary to assist them in achieving their goals. You know, if that means a home visit while I'm in a certain area to a family, that's what that means. If it means I have to give a phone call to a parent when they get off of work at 7:30 at night, because they don't have your standard work experience that most middle class America has a chance to enjoy. That's what that means. Whatever it takes. And I tell them, this isn't true all the time, but I would say 99% of the time, when somebody sees you putting forth exceptional effort, generally on their behalf, they tend to reciprocate those things. And that's the way Ubuntu really works. So I'll talk about Ubuntu, and then I'll start getting these looks, and they're like, okay, well, that's nice, you know, that's really good, but what else are you doing? And then they'll start, and this was years ago, at a Big 12 conference on Black student government, the Advisor Center. We were talking about K-State's BSU and why it's so successful. And they're like, well, are you using Cross or are you using Aston's theories and all these other theories? And I didn't even really know what this stuff was because I wasn't formally trained in student development theory yet. I wasn't in school yet. So I would say, no, I don't use any of those. All I really have is Ubuntu. And, you know, they'll say, okay, and they'll shake their head and say, well, that's real nice, and, you know, that's so inspiring. But you can see in their face and their eyes that, you know, they're judging me. They're like, okay, this guy's some sort of hippie or something with his connection type thing. And, you know, I understand that. You know, as a logical person, I understand their reluctance. I understand their skepticism. But while they continue to doubt the methods that I use and we use here, and dismiss them, my students continue to win every local, regional, and national award that they possibly can, as well as graduate with jobs. So I think at the end of the day, we know what works. And it's going to happen again. I already know, because it's been happening for 4 years. We're going to get in this room at Big 12 at the end of February, and they're going to say, what is K-State doing to get these types of students where they need to be? What makes K-State successful? I want to conclude with this thought. I want to leave you with this concept of Ubuntu, that we're in this thing together. I want us to continue to push our students to be the very best version of them so that K-State can become the very best version of itself. You know, it's time to me to stop blaming forces that we don't control or support. It's time for us to stop blaming forces that we don't control or supposed shortcomings on college readiness and the high-risk students, to me, because that's anti-Ubuntu. Let's not worry so much about the college readiness of the student and focus on the student readiness of the college, and that is how we will achieve that perfect fluence of Ubuntu here at K-State. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Tricia Gott, and I'm the Assistant Director at the Staley School of Leadership Studies. I also have had the honor and privilege of serving on the Commerce Bank Award Selection Committee for the past 3 years. And this year, as always, was an exceptionally challenging year and incredibly impressive. As you start to look at the nominees, and you got a very good look at the winners, you get a sense of what this campus has to offer. So everybody's thanked Dr. Gordon. Dr. Gordon, I don't appreciate that you made me just follow Brian because I don't think there's much I can say at this point. Except for that Brian and Justine, they tricked you. See, they got you here to celebrate them. And what they did is something we try and teach in leadership studies. What they did was they offered you a challenge. They talked to you about social justice on this campus and in this country. They talked to you about what they've been doing, how they've been working alongside mentees. They've been organizing in clubs and organizations. They've been working internal to their colleges, to their departments, to their majors. And Justine talked to us in her interview about how she's planning the next step in her career. Brian's doing this. So they got us here. They got us here, and now they want us to leave, and they want us to remember what they're talking about, and they want us to go out and continue that work of social justice organizing at Kansas State University, in the city of Manhattan, across the state of Kansas, and around the world. And they've offered you some ideas of how that has to happen. Brian, in leadership studies, one of the scholars I like to read is a woman named Meg Wheatley, and she talks about an idea she calls emergence. How many of you have seen a forest grow? I haven't. I've been to the forest. We've got lots of trees on campus. I have never seen one grow. The reason why, because it doesn't just grow. You start with a sapling or a seed drops from a tree. You hang out and watch it. 10 years later, it's a young tree. 20 years later, it's a little bigger. Maybe it has a few friends growing around it. 100 years go by, and there is a huge, great, big forest that we get the benefit of walking through. What Justine and Brian are doing is planting those trees. They're planting them here today. They're asking us to be those voices that continue echoing the work they're doing every day, every minute on this campus and in their lives. I've known Brian since I was a freshman here at Kansas State University in Javel, and we might prefer that you don't know everything about us as freshmen. But what I can tell you is that Brian Williams was doing this work then. I have all confidence Justine will be doing this work 10 years from now. So what I would charge you to do is honor the work they've done by leaving this room and continuing to push the idea of Ubuntu, push the idea of emergence, push the idea that social justice is what we need, and it must be how we work, how we think, how we live, for the world to be better for all of us. So thank you, Dr. Gordon. Thank you, Justine. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Commerce Bank. And please join me in once more thanking our award recipients for the work they've done and the work they will continue to do.
Well, thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you to all our day-ass guests, Commerce Bank, our award winners, all the technicians, everybody. Thank you so very much. We still have food to eat and drinks to drink, so if you'd like to grab a little something else, please feel free to do so. Thank you, everybody. Take care. God bless.